year. Like I mentioned, I'm a product marketer, have been a product marketer for over 8 years now. And I've worked with a ton of designers over the course of that time. Some of the best I've ever worked with are actually here at Dovetail. We're very intentional about design. It's like a core piece of our company. And what I love about working with designers at Dovetail and other places is that I think designers bring a unique point of view in how they marry solving customer problems with creativity and looking at problems in new and fun ways. I think designers are great because they really understand this like core kind of piece of their job, which is they want to make design decisions with the user at the center of everything. They're like innately customer centric, and it's as someone else who's also really focused on the customer, they're always really great partners to have. But they can also marry those creative concepts with clear customer needs and ultimately create experiences that surprise and delight. And again, our designers here at Dovetail, I think, are second to none in creating those amazing and delightful experiences. But I also know this isn't easy for y'all, right? Because in order to be customer centric, you have to talk to customers. And you want to talk to customers, but product development cycles are speeding up. They're faster than ever. There are endless competing priorities. And so it can be hard to find time to engage with customers and really do that hard work of building deep empathy. A simpler way of putting this, and I feel this pain every day, is that you're not a full-time researcher. We aren't full-time researchers. It's not our job to be out talking to customers each and every minute of every day. And then when you kind of layer in the fact that there are so many other stakeholders, like product marketers, like product managers, like leadership stakeholders, and they've each kind of cultivated their own ideas about the customer, all these different perspectives can be really hard to contend with, especially when you want yours to be heard and incorporated. But really, if the ultimate goal is to design experiences that delight customers and solve their needs, we know that we have to find ways to make it easier to, one, go talk to customers, and then extract all the really rich insights buried deep in like very in-depth customer feedback data. And so today I'm going to show you how Dovetail is helping designers do just that. We provide a customer insights hub that lets them achieve three key things that I'm going to walk you through today. The first is I'll show you how Dovetail helps you conduct effective user research or user discovery faster than ever before. On the back of that, I'll then show you how you can use those insights that you've uncovered to drive alignment across all the different teams that you work with. And then finally, I'll show you how Dovetail can even help designers very quickly discover new insights about customers via a shared hub of customer knowledge. So we work with design teams at Okta, Atlassian, Kickstarter, and more to achieve just that. And I'm excited to show you how. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. I'm going to share my screen now. And what you'll see pop up is a demo workspace that we use here at Dovetail for a fictional music streaming service called Zotify. And so what you see here is kind of the homepage, the login experience for Dovetail for the workspace. And a workspace is just a term we use to kind of denote all of the collective customer data that exists inside the Dovetail platform. That can be different research projects, pieces of data within those projects, insights, or kind of research reports. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to start off with kind of that first topic on conducting effective user research. And so in this case, let's imagine that myself as a designer, in this case, I want to go explore ideas for a new product or feature. And I know that in order to do that, I need to go talk to customers to deeply understand their needs, their pain points, so I can develop experiences that will meet those needs in delightful ways. And so I need to conduct user research and user discovery. I need to go gather data and then kind of uncover all of the insights or those like tidbits of knowledge that can help me design the solution that it directly addresses their needs. And so in order to do that, I can go into Dovetail and essentially create what we call a project to help gather all that information really quickly and easily, and then analyze it at the speed of AI. And so I'll go into Browse and pop into the folder structure here in Dovetail. This is totally customizable based on how you want to organize your work. I'll go into this sample data folder. And before I just jump right into the user research piece, just want to call out that all these different projects contain different data types inside of Dovetail. So for example, if you want to look into things like industry reports, if you want to analyze them, you can upload PDFs. If you prefer looking at things like survey data or NPS feedback, you can upload into Dovetail and do some analysis there. But really kind of the core use case that we find designers coming to Dovetail for is really all around conducting a round of customer interviews, like in-depth feedback calls or kind of talking through pain points with users, like interview style. And then analyzing that feedback in isolation, and then also across a bunch of different users. So for the majority of this demo, I'm going to go into this project, which we call the interview project. And so you'll see here, we have something like 20 plus calls with different Zotify users. These can be imported either through a simple bulk import, or as of a couple weeks ago, I think last week, we recently released our new Google Calendar integration. So now you can easily set up an automatic sync with your Google Calendar and Zoom connection directly into Dovetail. You just need to identify which calendar you want to integrate and then set up some keywords and identify the destination project or folder where you want those calls to go. And once the recorded call is complete, it will automatically create a note inside of Dovetail. And so each of these calls could be automatically uploaded once you end the Zoom. And then you can immediately just move into the analysis phase. So again, calendar integration, something brand new that we just released, and super excited to get it into everyone's hands to start trying to really reduce the time it takes to get all this data into Dovetail. So let's dig into one of these notes. Let's go to Freddie. And so once a video is uploaded into Dovetail, it is automatically transcribed. We support over 40 different languages for transcription today, and that number is growing. You'll see that I can go ahead and go directly into the transcript and start working with it. I can update the speakers, for example. Let's say that this is my colleague, Renee. And then this is Freddie. So you'll see I make an update just once here, and it updates throughout the whole transcript. I can go ahead and start playing around inside of the transcript here and say, like, add more context inside of the transcript itself. And I can also start appending this data with more information. I can highlight things here. I can create a highlight, which is then immediately shareable. I can, create essentially a little video clip that I can share directly with my stakeholders. I can comment, say if Serena is interested in users that have come to Zotify through iTunes, I can quickly call her into the project to view this highlight. Or I can even redact information in here. So let's say Freddie shared some, PII or personally identifiable information, and I need to stay compliant within my organization and make sure that this information isn't publicly available in my organization. I can quickly redact all this information or even blur the video if I need to. I'll just show you what that looks like real quick. So you'll see that it was redacted. And if I play the transcript,
oh gosh,
so you'll see it's totally redacted.
I think
It's blurred his face, it's redacted the text. So quick compliance right there with Magic Redact. Now, this is great for folks who have hours to dig through really in-depth call transcripts and want to kind of work with the data more manually. But of course, again, designer, I don't have time to do that. I need to just quickly get to the insight so I can move on to, influencing my stakeholders, designing great experiences. So this is where Dovetail's magic features or AI-powered features can really come in and help reduce the time it takes for me to get to insight. So the first one is Magic Summarize. I'm going to let that start working. And the second one is Magic Highlight. So I'm going to get that one working as well. And while they're working, I'll explain, Magic Highlight and Magic Summary are two really powerful features that we introduced earlier this year to, again, help decrease the time it takes for you to get from like raw transcript to really actionable information and insights into what the data is saying within the context of one particular call or one particular note. And so what Magic Summary is going to do is look at the whole transcript and provide me a full summary of the call with chapter breaks that I can quickly get kind of the TLDR, understand what the sections of the call are. You'll see I still have total control over the summary, and I'm able to do some editing. So here we go.
So let's say I wanted to quickly add some more context here. Same thing, I have this kind of text editing experience right within the summary. I can also quickly, let's say I want to quickly get to Freddie's day-to-day usage and experience with Zotify. I just click on that section and I immediately take it into the part of the transcript where we talk about those topics. And so I've kind of gone from this really kind of long, dense transcript to this TLDR where I can choose where to dig in, knowing that I still have full control over the content of this summary and can update it as needed. Looks like Magic Highlight has completed as well. You can see some of the highlights are already here in the transcript. Let's go over to Magic Highlight. And so now you'll see that Dovetail's AI has also gone in and started suggesting what are the key moments inside of this call that I want to highlight and do further analysis on. So you'll see not only do we have the highlights, but it's also included suggested tags. Think of tags as like thematic groupings that you can then connect data points across different notes, different projects, across all different data types in the workspace. I'll show you what that looks like later on in the presentation. But now, again, thinking about total control when it comes to AI, I have the ability to accept this highlight, saying, yes, this is relevant to me. I can reject the highlight. I can add more tags if that's what I'd like to do. But essentially, there's this checkpoint where I'm the human in the loop that's going to go ahead and decide what is the most relevant information for me, for what I'm trying to accomplish, and kind of adapt accordingly. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'll just go ahead and accept all of these highlights. There we go. And so now what I've done again is going back to the beginning when I was doing the manual highlight, I have these very instantly shareable clips that I can on the fly go share with stakeholders. I have a summary that kind of gives me the TLDR that I can share with stakeholders on any particular call or note. And I've gone from 20 plus calls with my customers and deep transcripts to now they're all fully highlighted, summarized, and they're full of like rich kind of insights that I can now analyze in isolation. Or now I can take a step back and I can look at this entire project in aggregate. And across all of these 20 calls, I can start to see what are the main takeaways and main themes that I want to kind of zoom in on a little bit. And this is where we move into the next piece of a project, which we call highlights. And so highlights, think of it as like all the highlights across all of these calls in one place to do further analysis or kind of further discovery. Lots of different ways you can visualize highlights inside of Dovetail. For example, if you really love spreadsheets, you can look at highlights in a table view like this. We also have things like a Kanban style board or grid, but we find that designers, being visual folks, really love the canvas experience inside of Dovetail. Think of it like a lightweight Miro or digital whiteboard style experience where you're able to add highlights directly to this board. And then you have some formatting options to be able to group things, do some kind of mapping, do some group kind of thematic clustering. Here you'll see the reference picker is what we call it. This is kind of the collection, the container of all the highlights within the project across all of those notes that I just showed you. And you can start picking and choosing which highlights or which references you want to put onto the board via filters. So maybe I only want to look at a certain tag or a certain grouping of people. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to throw everything on there. So I'll just select them all. You'll see it's 301 highlights. That's quite a few highlights. You'll see kind of the wall of text appear here. And I have total control in being able to move these around and kind of, mix and match different highlights. But again, this is a lot of information, and I might not have the time to do kind of that deep kind of work of doing that thematic grouping. So this is where Dovetail's AI cluster can also come into play. I'm going to start letting that work as well. And so what this is doing is now our AI is looking through all of these highlights and trying to connect the dots between all these different data points. Essentially what it's going to do is create kind of these different thematic groupings or classify this information using AI. and then automatically group and label them appropriately. So think of these as like helpful signposts or directionality to kind of help you decide where to dig in a little bit more. But you'll see now it's here, it's done working. You'll see some groupings on playlists and playlist management, some feedback on user interface and design, offline mode and data usage, music search and discovery. So we've actually recently made a lot of improvements to Magic Cluster in our product, and we've heard from customers that the improvement in kind of the suggested groupings is really significant. So if you're a current Dovetail user and haven't done Magic Cluster in a while, recommend that you give it another shot, because we've really been working on the AI model in the background, and it's really starting to improve. So now I've kind of think back to where I was before. I talked to, 20 different customers. I had a bunch of transcripts, that were not highlighted. I had to the mountain of data I was sitting in front of seemed insurmountable. And now in a matter of minutes, I've gone from that raw data to some real kind of actionable insights around how we can improve things like our playlist and playlist management, or how we compare to other music apps. Right. And so now these are the insights that are going to help me drive better decision making when it comes to designing great experiences for customers. So that's kind of how, within the concept of kind of conducting user discovery or user research as a designer, Dovetail can help accelerate a lot of those cycles. Now I'm going to show you kind of phase 2 of this is like, great, now I have all of these amazing insights. Let's say I'm going to quarterly roadmap planning with the product team, and I want to make sure that what I've learned from this project is really being considered as we kind of figure out how to best address our top user needs. So I need to take this information and present it in a really compelling way to stakeholders and decision makers, and let my customer kind of lead the way in how we make roadmap decisions. So let's stay on this canvas here, and let's just dig into the playlist and playlist management piece here, right? This is a great grouping. Let's say, this one doesn't really apply, so I can go ahead and move it out. Maybe this one, I didn't like this one either, but the rest of these really look interesting to me. And so now what I'm going to do is click on the grouping, and I can do a couple of different things here. The first, if I just want to share things on the fly, I can do what's called creating a reel of this information, and think of a reel as like a sizzle reel of all of these highlights all at once, 5 minutes with something like 10 different users talking about playlists and playlist management and kind of the challenges or the positives that they're seeing in the platform. I can really quickly download this reel and share it out where my stakeholders are in real time. Think in a Jira ticket for an engineer, think in product board for a PM, or maybe in a Slack message or Slack channel where some stakeholders might be viewing things. I can very quickly bring the voice of the customer directly to those folks to kind of help bolster my case in real time. But maybe I'm looking for something a little bit more formal for a quarterly roadmap review. And so what I might do is create an insight and add all of this information to the insight. And so this is where we'll kind of pivot into the last piece that I want to show you inside of a Dovetail project, which are insights. And insights are essentially, think of them as research reports. Playlist experience. Great. Where I can gather information both within the context of this particular project, but it's also the place where I can go out into the workspace and try and pull in other insights or other data points that could help, bolster my argument even more. And then kind of get me the kind of influence the decisions that I want to influence as a designer. So let's go ahead and get into that insight. So you'll see that reel that I had created is automatically imported into the insight. I can also add more references if I wanted to. I can go out into the workspace and find, let's say, other references that aren't already in here. So let's say I want to look out in the workspace, and I want to look for, let's see. Like I can look for different tags, for example, like let's say there's a tag for playlist. Great. So now here you can see I have a bunch of different highlights that might exist in different projects that I can bundle up and continue to add to this insight, again, to create more user validation, more empathy for the customer, and add it into the insight. I can also bring in different industry reports. I can bring in, I can, type up kind of findings at a high level, but maybe I don't have time for any of that. So what I can do really quickly is allow AI to summarize this insight. Whoops. Oops. There we go. Oh, for some reason that's not going off. Sorry, live demo. That's okay. I can show you an example of a completed summary. So this is a different insight about playlists. And you'll see here, this is an AI generated summary that looks at this video and any other data that might be within the insight and provides a concise summary for stakeholders. Once I publish this insight to the workspace, I'm now able to invite people into Dovetail, invite my stakeholders in by adding them here. As long as they have a viewer license, they're able to see this information. Or one better, we can copy a link to this insight and do the same workflow that I just discussed earlier. Pop it into a Slack channel and it'll unfurl. Pop it into Product Board or Jira or Notion or Confluence. We have a bunch of kind of data out integrations that allow people to consume this information exactly where they work. So you can share widely and influence those big decisions about what features are prioritized and what experiences we want to create for customers. So that's topic 2 around driving alignment with customer insights. Let's, for this last one, do a quick stop in our search experience, because let's face it, we all wish we had time to do in-depth, talk to 20 customers and get a bunch of insights and share them out with stakeholders. That's all well and good. That's the ideal. But we also just don't have time to do that. And often, especially myself as a product marketer, I often find if I have a question about a customer, a lot of times I'm going to go see if that question has already been asked. We have a great researcher here at Dovetail who's constantly talking to customers. We have a sales team that's asking questions of customers every day. We have customer success who are empowering our customers with best practices. They're getting a lot of information as well. And maybe in the past, I might have tried to tap them on the shoulder or try and dig through Google Drive or Confluence or Notion to try and find all that information. But that can be really time consuming. But with Dovetail, now I'm able to leverage the search experience and kind of as the central source of truth with every sales or success call, with every project that's happening across the business. I'm able to really quickly just ask kind of my burning customer questions. So for example, what do customers think of our playlists? And now what Dovetail's Magic Search is doing is kind of leveraging semantic search based on meaning and applying AI on the back end to it to kind of give us a full representation of all the different data points inside of Dovetail that speak to that. And then providing an AI generated summary here on the left of kind of the key takeaways across all of those 229 data points, right? And what's great here is that not only do we get the summary, we also get links to evidence that's kind of backing up those different points that I can immediately click into and get more context. So I'm just clicking into a couple to show you where we might find that information. So you'll see a good mix of different highlights within transcripts, different insights or reports that have already been created in the past. Or even just like basic NPS data feedback. It's really incorporating everything that's in the Insights Hub into this summary, which I can then immediately create an insight on top of that, which as you'll see when I create it, brings the summary over, automatically creates the highlight reel of any relevant video evidence in the summary, and then also pulls in all the other different relevant data points. I can edit this to my heart's content, clean it up, make it look beautiful, and immediately publish and share with my stakeholders, similar to the workflow that I just showed you there. But what's great here now is that kind of building on this like collective customer knowledge, anyone in my organization can now also go find this insight that I've created. And what the knock-on effect this has here is, where once like my teams were very misaligned on what our key users' pain points were, or kind of what those flows look like for them, we're now starting to collectively build this one central hub where we can continue to build on a shared sense of customer knowledge and customer understanding, which has a long-term effect of kind of helping everyone create experiences, design experiences, engineer experiences that users are ultimately going to love. And so with that, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. I think now's a good time to maybe pause, 30 minutes in, boom, exactly 30 minutes. And let's see what kind of questions we have going on.
Yeah, we have a question here. Actually very excited and asking about, any of the new Dovetail features coming soon that we can speak to.
Ooh, yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening in the world of what we're calling it Dovetail 3.0, which is coming very soon in the fall. I mentioned the calendar integration is one that's actually already live. I think I might have missed mentioning it during the demo, but Dovetail does work with survey data as well, but we're actually in the process of giving that a huge uplift and applying some of the magic features I just showed you, like summarization and highlights, to the survey analysis experience. And then the same thing with that last piece I showed you, that magic search inside of Dovetail. This is a super powerful tool that our users love, and we want to find ways to bring magic search outside of Dovetail into exactly where your stakeholders are. So think like Slack and Teams and other areas. So being able to ask those burning customer questions and instantly get a response from Dovetail is something we're really excited to share with everyone really soon. So that's just a couple of things. If you sign up for our wait list, I think Serena put the link in the chat, go over there, enter your email, and you'll be invited to kind of some more sneak peek sessions we have planned in the coming weeks. So if you want to do a deep dive on those, I encourage you to check that out.
Awesome. We also had another question asking around any plans to introduce creating journey maps in Dovetail. And I kind of alluded to the fact that we're continuing to explore integrations with other tools where you might already be doing that. Is there anything else that you want to add to that, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. We've been like really kind of slowly building out a lot of new features and functionality that go beyond kind of our classic use cases rooted in like user research, and really meeting the needs of designers, product managers, and even go-to-market teams. And so we know that all those different folks have tools that they prefer to use for things like journey mapping. And so instead of trying to build new workflows from scratch inside of Dovetail, we're definitely taking like an ecosystem approach and trying to find ways to work better together with those sorts of tools that designers would use for journey mapping.
Yep. So stay tuned. If you're not already following us on LinkedIn or part of our Slack community, feel free to join there for the latest, greatest updates. We just got another question from Amanda here. Do you think Dovetail replaces the need for personas and mindsets?
Ooh, good question. I'd be curious to get your response.
Yeah.
For me, no. I think that Dovetail, there's a lot of talk, we go to meetups all the time and we hear a lot of talk about like virtual personas, or kind of using AI to like, create a facsimile of the customer and chatting with the customer. And like, while there's use in that, I don't think AI is fully going to replace, or Dovetail is going to fully replace the need for an organization to constantly go out and continue to talk to customers. What Dovetail is going to be really good at is helping understand the current state of knowledge about the customer in a point in time, right? So if I want to know today on September 12th what my users think about playlists, just to keep the metaphor going, I can ask Dovetail to get like a point in time response on what key personas think about it. But it's not going to fully replace the need for me to go out and test that assumption in some way, right? I use that as my starting point, as my hypothesis, and then I go out and I test and go talk to customers or do surveys or collect information and do discovery. Dovetail just really accelerates, kind of finding the core problem by giving you a good hypothesis to start with, I would say. I don't know if you had something to add there.
Yeah, totally agreed with what you said. I think it allows you to just make the most of what you already know about your personas and kind of build from there. And then kind of from there refine like what actual research do we need to do net new? Or then you can very quickly understand, okay, this is actually all the feedback we've already gotten from customers. And then you can go create your, prototypes and then actually do some concept testing with users as well. So I think if anything, it's going to help more people understand your personas, ideally. I mean, at Dovetail, we talk a lot about our various personas across all of our teams, and it's a core part of our onboarding is to really understand your customers, whether you're on the sales team or, marketing or ops or product team, because that allows everyone to just understand how to better serve and design for them. And we do, we basically play our own highlight reels and, build in little quizzes so that the new hire starting can really get familiar with what the, pains and gains are for each different persona. Yeah, so that is, I think, how we would address that. And another question came in, any ideations on Dovetail as a Figma plugin for any ideations on ideating Dovetail as a Figma plugin for designers and researchers in collaboration? I know this request has come up a lot in the community, and it's definitely something that's on our radar, but anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. We hear this one all the time. We hear you. Our VP of product is talking about it all the time. It is on our radar for sure, to plug into Figma, and kind of make that work, like bringing that work more seamlessly into a tool like Figma is high on our radar.
And then a question came through, is my company data being used to train Dovetail's AI model if I upload videos?
My company data being used to train? No. So our privacy and customer data is of the utmost importance. If you want to understand how we're using our AI in more detail, I invite you to go to our trust center. I think it's trust.dovetail.com. There's tons of documentation there, but the TLDR is that none of our customer data is ever used to train AI models. All of our customer data is in isolation to each other. It's kind of a walled garden. And we also use kind of purpose-built AI models and LLMs for each piece of the product. So the AI that is powering the summaries is very different from the AI that's powering the highlights, is very different from the AI that's powering other parts of our product. And all of them are, again, walled gardens that we're using our own data to train, never customer data.
Awesome. Any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll also share some of the resources we talked about today. So if you want to join our community, that's our Slack community. We are sharing best practices there all the time, as well as events that we host both in person at our SF office, as well as virtually. And also, events and kind of thought leadership from people within our Dovetail community, sharing, beyond even Dovetail best practices, but even how they're approaching, different types of user testing and things within more the craft space as well. That's also a great place if you want to share some feedback and ideas. People across our product team are also tuning into that and gathering feedback as we go. We also do have, if anyone's interested to kind of like dive a bit deeper and kind of get started in learning more about how to use Dovetail yourself, whether you've got a free plan or, you're kind of onboarding with your team, I do also recommend Dovetail Academy here, where we've got nice bite-sized learning modules, whether you're getting started for the very first time or trying to basically onboard and, scale your use of Dovetail across your team. Lots of short videos, homework, and, exercises to get you started. I see we've got a question here again around AI. Does OpenAI gain any access to our customer data, whether or not they train? Thanks. And I think that's again, no.
No, yeah. We also don't use OpenAI at Dovetail. But yeah, all of your data is safe within your workspace and not exposed to any of the AI models we use.
Amazing.
Cool. And then I think there was a question in the chat about the link to the Slack community. And just to be super clear, you posted that, but it's dovetail.com/community. That's the webpage. And then there's a form there where you can sign up to join our Slack.
Cool. And we've got a final comment here. Great, really loving Dovetail. Thanks for doing AI right.
Amazing. Yes, we love it. We love the approach. We call it human in the loop AI here at Dovetail. And so we're super excited to get the positive feedback, and we're just leaning into that approach even more and introducing even more fun ways to let AI speed things up while keeping you in the loop.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for joining today. If you are interested, you can always reach out to our team, and someone on our sales team can always assist you in the discovery and kind of sales and procurement process as well, and help you kind of demo it internally. We also have lots of events coming up, so stay tuned for that, and we hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you again, Serena. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye, everyone.